Soul City Church, this is a really exciting opportunity and moment for us. We get to welcome back a friend of ours. Dr. Amen and his incredible work has been impactful on our lives personally and on people's lives around the world. And as we knew we were doing this focus mode series, I knew that I just wanted to have him speak into the significance of what happens with all of our digital distractions to our minds, to our brains, and how that affects our bodies, our lives, our relationships, etc. So it is a huge honor for us to welcome back our friend, Dr. Amen. Dr. Amen, thank you so much for joining us this weekend. Thank you for making time for us to have this conversation with you.
Well, I'm honored you would have me. Thank you.
Well, we're grateful that you get to speak into our church some more. For those who don't know you or maybe aren't familiar with your work, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to this work that you do.
When I was 18, Vietnam was still going on, and I became an infantry medic where my love of medicine was born. But about a year into it, I realized something very important about myself. I don't like being shot at. No, I don't like this. It's not fun. Yeah. And I got myself retrained as an X-ray technician and developed a passion for medical imaging. As our professors used to say, how do you know unless you look? And I love that and spent years doing that. And then in 1975, I got out of the Army and finished college, went to Vanguard University. It's an Assemblies of God school here in Southern California. Yep. And then I went to medical school at Oral Roberts University. And I feel incredibly blessed to learn medicine in the context of my faith. Yeah. And I got married when I was a second-year medical student to my childhood sweetheart. And, 2 months later, she tried to kill herself. And I took her to see a wonderful psychiatrist. And I came to realize if he helped her, which he did, it wouldn't just help her, that it would help me. Yeah. It would help our children and even our grandchildren as they would be shaped by someone who is happier and more stable. So I fell in love with psychiatry 46 years ago, and I've loved it every day since. But I fell in love with the only medical specialty that never looks at the organ it treats. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. That's insane. Yes. And I knew it was wrong then. I just had no idea I'd be involved in changing it. Sure. And for the last 35 years here at Amen Clinics, we use a study called brain SPECT imaging. We look at the brain, and virtually it has changed absolutely everything in my life, because I realized most psychiatric illnesses are not mental health issues. Right. They are brain health issues. Get your brain healthy and your mind will follow. And so since then, virtually everything I do is helping people have better brains and better lives. Yeah. And when you think of digital distractions, this is one thing that is stealing the soul of America, around the world, really, because what happens when you pull your phone out of your pocket because you got a text, or you start playing games on your phone, or you play video games, it just releases a little tiny bit of dopamine. And it does it over and over and over. And dopamine works in a part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens, which helps you feel joy, helps you feel pleasure, helps you be motivated. But it wears that out, which then increases your risk of depression, increases your risk of ADHD, and makes you anxious. And perhaps even increases the risk of dementia later on.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that in a little bit, about even digital dementia and what that sort of looks like. You know, we've talked a lot over the last few weeks about the threat to our health and wellness when it comes to our digital distractions. Wonderful tools, but they can make just terrible distractions in our life. I would love for you to sort of speak to the other side of that. What is the effect of a healthy brain? What is sort of the ripple effect? You talked about it for years ago. You knew that, this could affect my life, our lives, our marriage, our kids, our grandkids. Talk a little bit about when someone is taking care of their brain. What are some of the results of that in their everyday life?
You know, it's so funny. We have a high school course called Brain Thrive by 25. And in one of the lessons, it's things to avoid. And it's invariably a 14-year-old boy, never a girl. It's always a boy who goes, how can you have any fun?
Taking all the good stuff away.
And so we play a game with them called Who Has More Fun? The kid with the good brain or the kid with the bad brain? Who gets the girl and gets to keep her because he doesn't act like a jerk? The kid with the good brain or the kid with the bad brain? Who gets into the college they want to get into? Who gets the best jobs, creates the best families? It's the person with the good brain, right? When you look at alcohol, marijuana, pornography, bad food, not working out, and you look at the future of what that gives you, it's not excellence.
Yeah.
But when you think about having a better brain and just making the decisions, and ultimately comes down to one question. I mean, I hate to be so simplistic, but this is a question. Is this good for my brain or bad for it?
Yeah.
And you just have to answer that question.
Yeah.
That's the mother tiny habit. Whenever you go into a situation like this interview, is this good for my brain or bad for it? Well, it's good for my brain because I'm doing something purposeful that I love with someone I care about. And I'm like, no, this is good for my brain.
Not too hard to figure out. Yep.
And if you just stay with that, your marriage is better. Why? Because, often when I lecture, I'll go, how many of you are married? And people raise their hand. And then I'll go, is it good for you to say everything you think in your marriage? And everybody laughs because of course not, right? You really shouldn't let your inside voice get out without purpose.
That's right. Yes, make sure.
And when your brain is healthy, your inside voice has reign over it. Yeah. You're more thoughtful, which means you're more connected. You get promoted more at work. You manage your money in a better way, and you're less likely to lose your mind as you get older. I have 6 children, and I love all of them. But I never want to have to live with any of them, right? It's like, no, I want to be in control of my life for as long as possible.
Yeah. And it sounds like nothing terribly new here, but the short-term gain, long-term gains, does that little short, quick dopamine hit feel good in the moment? Sure, of course. But is that taking away a greater goal that you might have for your life? Everything you just shared there, and having the presence of mind, to use a phrase, to know in the moment, this may feel good in this moment to get this little hit from playing this game or opening this app or scrolling one more time, but long term, am I actually going to be paying more for it? And I think that takes, again, like you just said, some real discernment in the moment to know. But it's not terribly difficult. My hunch is we can look at opportunities in front of us and be able to know pretty quickly, is this good for my brain? Is this bad for my brain? And I think we know that social media is not always good for our brains. And I would love for you just to speak to some of the effect of this global experiment, basically, that we've run on everyone's brains over the last 20 years or so by introducing this into our lives, into our phones, into our everywhere. What have you seen as some of the effect of what's happening to our brains through something like a digital distraction of social media?
So we've unleashed this technology with very little neuroscience research, and the retrospective research says, okay, this is a bad thing. As we have seen mental illnesses in children skyrocket, right? Study out last year, 57% of teenage girls report being persistently sad. 32% have thought of killing themselves. 24% have planned to kill themselves, and 13% have tried. It's like you look at that and it's like, where did that come from, right? It's so bad. That's not a genetic thing.
No.
That's
not a unique
an
American
environmental
thing. Right.
thing.
Yep.
And the thing is digital distraction and social media. And when you get on social media, the problem becomes you start comparing yourself to other people who are not even real. And, it's public knowledge. I'm Miley Cyrus's doctor. It's public knowledge. I saw Justin Bieber. I'm in his documentary seasons. Yep. And both of them told me they were not enough. And I just sort of look at them. What else do you have to have? And I'm like, if you're not enough, I don't know who would be enough.
Right.
Right? So even, very successful people, it's the comparison that social media promotes, and some of their algorithms, they're just evil. Because they're after eyeballs, and what gets eyeballs is negativity. It's conflict, and that just trashes a person's self-esteem. And we live in a society of undisciplined thinkers. I teach people to not believe every stupid thing they think. I call it killing the ants. The automatic negative thoughts that steal your happiness. And social media promotes distorted thinking.
Yeah, and what is fascinating to me is, like you said, is we unleash this without ever stopping to check and say, wait a second, what might this do? How might this affect our lives, our brains, our minds, our relationships with others? And now, like you said, what's concerning is we do have the data. You can draw a direct correlation to when social media went onto a phone, when you could actually take it with you and onto a smartphone, and the rise of depression, the rise of anxiety. Specifically, you see it with Gen Z tremendously. But no one seems to be stopping. I mean, the companies that put it out there.
In Australia, that Australia banned social media for children under 16. I'm like, that's awesome.
Big step.
Let's just, I love John 8:32. Know the truth. The truth will set you free. The truth is, this is harmful. And we need to protect developing brains. And your brain has not finished developing until you're 25 in girls, and more like 27 in boys. And so having a developing brain be inundated with the Kardashians, that's not a good thing.
No.
And I was on their show, so I don't want to pick on them.
That's just one example.
I was on their show, and I never got so many texts about people watching that show. But over and over again, that's
such a formative, when your brain is in such a formative phase and stage, it cannot be good. And it comes down to everything you've already been saying. Largely, no one else is going to stop this. So it really does fall on me. It falls on each of us to determine and decide what we are going to do to keep some of these distractions out of our lives, if not all of these distractions, these things that are damaging our brains. We have to put the guardrails up. We have to put the barriers up, because no one's necessarily going to come to rescue our brains from these things. You talk, I know in the clinic, you guys talk a lot about digital dementia as one of the effects, not only of social media, but of being on screens so much, that it has this, you're seeing this real effect, almost an accelerated effect of dementia through the form of digital dementia. Could you explain what that is? Because I just find this idea fascinating, and I don't think we're talking about this enough.
Your brain as much anymore, and so many people, they don't know the phone numbers of their friends and actually many of their family members because it's stored somewhere else.
I have to.
And the really crazy thing, when I was a young psychiatrist, I would get calls from family members and said, my father's lived in this city for 30 years. And he got lost coming home. Help us. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
In fact, Alzheimer's disease is being diagnosed later because of GPS. And when do you think treatment works, early or late? It's like early.
Yeah, it's usually
and
better.
so this is not a good thing. We're not working our brains like we worked them before. And now AI is going to take this to a whole nother level. You're not going to need to learn how to write. You're not going to need to learn how to think. You're not going to need to learn how to play music. All of these things, which are great for brain development, that the brain, was made and evolved and is strengthened by new learning.
Yes.
And if that's all provided for you,
outsourced.
it's not going to be good for our species.
One of the things that our church has done through this Focus Mode series is we have taken a digital fast. We've asked our church to take 14 days to detox, to fast, to get really specific and really clear about areas of their life that they want to just literally cut out, from screen time, limiting that, putting some parameters around that, obviously reasonably within work, social media. A lot of people, I know the first day that we encouraged our church to do it, one woman posted on our Instagram that she had to listen to the Bears game on the radio because she wasn't allowed to stream. She already given her screen time enough time. So she had to find that old technology of the radio to listen to the Bears game after church. Yeah. So talk just a second, for those of us who've done that, completed it, or maybe in the middle of it right now, what are the benefits? Why is it so important that we do something as radical as a fast or a detox? What happens when we do? And what can be some of the benefit of really taking that significant of a step?
You're allowing your nucleus accumbens, so the pleasure centers in your brain, to begin to rebuild themselves without constantly being bombarded and being worn out. You're allowing your brain to just begin to reset and heal so that you can find pleasure in normal human behaviors. I love this. I wrote a book called You Happier, and there's a concept in the book of micro moments of happiness. Is seek the micro moments, whether it's holding your wife's hand or I make a brain healthy hot chocolate. Just that first taste is so cool. Or talking to one of my kids on the phone. Like, look for the little things, because it's not the big things that make us happy. It's the combination of the little things. And the other thing to do when you go to bed at night, go, what went well? And just review your whole day. Go hour by hour, just looking for what you liked about the day.
Yeah, and there's something about doing that when you have the space to do that, where you're not on your phone in bed.
Put yourself to bed with the puzzle on the phone.
Yeah. That's been a big shift that both my wife and I have done. She's been better at this than I have in the past, but getting the phone out of the room. And it seems like such a small thing, but
it's a
pretty
huge
significant
thing.
That it's not the last thing I'm holding at the end of the night. It's not the first thing that I can even physically reach for in the morning to do that. Yeah, that even just that small step feels like me putting it in its proper place. Like you stay over here. You don't get to be right here in this intimate space, specifically in our bedroom. For someone who, I would love to hear as we wrap up, Dr. Amen, for someone who is hearing what you're saying, or is maybe familiar with your work, or has been a part of this teaching series, and maybe they're feeling, challenged. Man, I think I need to do something. I think this has affected my relationship with God. It's affected my relationship with others, and even with myself. What can someone begin to do? How can they partner either with the Amen clinics, or how can they begin to turn the tide? I think it's so easy to feel overwhelmed. Like, there's nothing I can do about this. Social media is everywhere. My phone's always with me. This is just the way of the world. What can someone practically begin to do to make real tangible change? You've talked about a lot of things in this conversation, but if you could sit down with anyone who's feeling convicted yet maybe overwhelmed, what would you say to them?
For me, always the first step is just write down what you want.
Yeah,
what
clear.
do you want in your relationships? I have an exercise I love called the one-page miracle. What do you want in your relationships? What do you want in your work? What do you want for your money? What do you want for your physical, emotional, and spiritual health? So write it down, and you'll find the phone's not there at all.
Yeah.
What do you want in your relationships? I want a kind, caring, loving, supportive, passionate relationship with my wife.
Right.
I always want that.
Yeah.
The phone's not there.
Yeah.
With my kids, I want to stay connected, and I don't want to have to live with them.
Yes, as long as possible.
Right? The phone's not there.
Not
I want to be responsible with my money. The phone's not there. I want to do meaningful work, and the phone's not there. And I want to be strong and vital and have energy, and the phone's not there.
Yeah.
And
so get clear. Be clear about what you want.
Clarity.
Yeah.
And then there's the question. Is this good for my brain or
is
bad
this getting
for
me
it?
there? Is this leading me towards that type of relationship,
Right.
that type of life?
And it's not what you should do. So I don't want people coming away from the series with, I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's exactly
I want you
what
to
I'm
come
talking about.
away
Yeah.
from the series where it doesn't fit.
Yeah. It's just
Right? If I don't have tattoos, but my wife actually got her first one, our daughter's birthday, and it just horrified me. But if I ever got a tattoo, the first tattoo would be, does it fit? Because that I live by, does it fit? Does my behavior fit the goals I have for my life? So rather, people often go to church and go, I should do this, I should do that. And it's like, no. If you really want to be effective, it's like, well, what do you want? And does this fit what you want? And if it doesn't, I want you to have some cognitive dissonance around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love a friend of ours, Jim Dethmer, talks about the difference between wanting and willing. So if I want this for my life, great. If this is the type of relationship, this is the type of life, this is the type of health that I want to have, awesome. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to put the things into your body? Are you willing to take care of your body in such a way that it's going to lead to that? Are you willing to say no to things that don't fit, that don't actually lead to that? And I know it sounds so simple, but it kind of is. It's just our willingness, whether or not we're actually willing to do that.
Well, and it's habit.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think so important to understand is other people, companies, have manipulated your mind to make money.
Yes.
And if you could just be a little bit irritated about that, that will help.
Yeah.
Right. And the research shows for kids, when they really understand, it's the vaping companies that are manipulating advertising and products to make money off of stealing their health, getting them angry about the reality
what this is costing,
what's going on. That'll help.
That'll help. A little healthy anger, a little healthy rebellion. I love it. Well, Dr. Amen, we are so grateful for you, so grateful that you would make this time. I know when we first reached out to you, your reply was so encouraging to us, like, just come, let's set up this time. And that is so meaningful to Jeannie and I, and that's so meaningful to our church. And we are so grateful for the work that you're doing literally around the world. There are so many resources that you have.
And we have a clinic in Chicago and Bannockburn.
That's right. Not too far from us at all. And so that's a great next step for people. And I know a lot of people from when you came to our church last time went and made that a part of a switch, a change in their lives. And so there's the clinic that's in Chicago. There's so many resources and books and talks that you've made available. Your generosity is inspiring to me. And it comes out of, I think, a life that you want. This is who you want to be, and you've modeled it to us, and you model it over and over and over again with the people that you work with and the people that you serve. And so thank you for being a part of this series, for a part of speaking into our church. We're incredibly grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you.